All right, we have a few people coming into the room. Guys, I'm so excited to have with me a guest today. She's actually coming from Turkey today, of all places. And her name is Paulina Mason. And Paulina is going to be talking to us. She put a presentation together for us today to talk about storage fees and more importantly, Amazon's Q4 storage fees, which we all know. If you haven't heard my story, a few years back, I think we had like over $30,000 that we paid Amazon in storage fees and learned a very, very hard lesson from that. And I know some sellers that paid over $100,000 in storage fees. So I'm really excited to have Paulina on the show today to talk about this very topic, considering that we're going into Q4 in a very, very short time here. So Paulina, why don't you introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about you and your story, and then we'll go into your presentation. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me. So my name is Paulina. I am a long-time Amazon seller. Well, relatively long, since the gold rush started in 2014, when many of us, 1 million of us, joined on the train of the Amazon FBA. And I am also a founder of Shopkeeper, which is a software for Amazon sellers. So I first became an Amazon seller and then started thinking that I need a tool for myself. And me being a software developer, I decided that I need to build an app for myself, which later my brother, my husband, and my family and my friends started asking for. And eventually it became a commercial, successful product that it is today. So that's my short story. That's how I started. And people call me the numbers girl because I really like to analyze the numbers. And storage fees is one of these things where I have put a lot of attention and try to optimize on my own Amazon seller account. So I will cover a lot of nice topics for you today.
Awesome, and welcome. And we can't wait to hear your presentation. So whenever you're ready, you can get started.
All right, so I'll be sharing my slides for that to help me visually, because when you hear a lot of numbers, it's very useful to see a presentation as well. So do you see everything well?
All right, guys, type a 1 in the chat if you can see the screen okay, her PowerPoint, her presentation she has for you, so we know that, you guys are able to see it.
It says sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front.
I see a 1. And you guys type a 1 also. I put it in the chat. Type a 1 if you can hear Paulina okay. We want to make sure that she's coming through clear and that you can actually see the screen that she's doing as well. Looks like you're good to go. I'm getting 1, so you're all good to go.
Okay, so let's start with the personal story that I have to tell you. All right. So here you see a product. So I'm in apparel category. It's not exactly my product, but it's very similar to what I was selling. And look at the size. So it's 10 inches by 18 inches. And as you all know, on Amazon, whenever you go over 18 inches, you become classified as an oversize. So I was trying to figure out, I noticed at some point that the storage fees, look at this now. So I noticed that the storage fees for oversize are actually less than for standard item. And I was thinking, I could fold the same item to be a little bit longer, 19 inches long, same shirt, I could refold it, and it's gonna be less in storage fees. Price per cubic foot goes down from 69 cents to 48 cents, for oversized items.
Yes? Paulina, not to interrupt you, but all I'm seeing on my screen is how to save on storage fees. It's not changing.
All right, let's do it again, because I see a message on my side saying sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front. Okay, so let me do that for us. Just a moment.
Let's see.
Okay, I will just reshare and everything will be good.
Yeah,
there you go. Now you should be good because I see it green on my end.
Okay, the screen I'm seeing is how to save on storage fees, and I don't see the product she is talking about.
What about the product? You see it right now?
Yes, now I see it. It says 18 inches by 10 inches, correct.
Right, so that's the shirt that I was talking about. So now look at it, right? It's 18 inches, and you could fold it any way you like, right? You could make 1 inch smaller or taller by 1 inch, right? And then the other screen that I was talking about was the the fees, how they change. So look, oversized, the green column has 48 cents per cubic foot whenever it's oversized. And I was thinking, maybe I could save so much on storage fees if I just make it 1 inch to be longer, you know, and I investigated that situation. So I was thinking, all right, so if it reduces so well, nicely during the year, what about Q4? And then in Q4, actually, it was going from 240 per cubic foot to 120. So I was thinking maybe I'll save about $900 a year doing that, you know, 3 months of that savings, it will be good. But when you're doing your own sort of explorations like this, try to not to think too narrowly. You have to think about the big picture. Look what happened when I looked at the Amazon FBA fees. Actually, I was in this box, the last box that is the top price for the FBA fee. And once you jump into the oversize, even though you are the small oversize, the FBA fees almost double, you know, and it's crazy big change, you know. So even though you saved on storage fees on $900 a year, actually you'll pay extra $3,500 a year in FBA fees doing that, you know. So be very careful. Don't do like I did, you know, and just explore one area of things. Look at the whole map, how it makes sense together, you know. So that's just for yourself to think about. Now, what I did later is I actually used this, the bag, which is airtight bag. So it really helps to save on storage space when you have something like apparel items. And interestingly, very often when you have items that are folded one way, when you refold them the other way, they suddenly take just less space, and it seems like a magic trick. But actually, all you have to do is just refold them in a different way, and very often they take less space if you really think about it. Now you will say, Paulina, all right, but I'm not selling apparel, so what can you offer to me? Well, if you're selling something that is hard pieces, you know, Amazon is not Walmart retail shop. You don't need to have a nice box, displayable, you know, constructed item. You can disassemble your items. You can stack them on top of each other. So basically, the thinking about the storage space starts with the design and development of your product. So as early in the development cycle, when you're thinking how to package it, even though you can put a nice, beautiful packaging and be different from the others, you could still think about storage space and exactly how much you're gonna take. So the one on the right, you could think, how would you improve it? So there's this finger skateboard bicycle combo. Well, of course, you don't need all of this beautiful, you know, promotional writing there. You could stack the items on top of each other, and immediately you would save like 3 times on your storage fees automatically. So keep that in mind. But now you will say, okay, Paulina, but now the thing is that I don't really have time. Christmas are coming, you know, and there is no time to rethink the product packaging from scratch. I am already in the process. What should I do? Well, you know, many other things you could do. You could take the existing product and you could just do little tweaks. You know, sometimes, for example, extendable handle on the broom, right? So it's not such a big change. Very often the same manufacturer has something that could be just screwed in as a new handle. You know, it's not a completely different product, but rethink, you know, maybe instead of attachable pieces for this shopping cart, right? This is the cart, then the handle is foldable and the wheels also fold down. So for the wheels to fold down, all you need to change is those pieces would attach to the bottom of the cart, right? So you just have to replace certain components creatively with the current existing items, and you can already still have savings on your storage space. That's not the whole benefit you get. Actually, you get an additional benefit that you can promote. People usually like that a lot. Oh, now I can fit it in my trunk. You know, it folds it so nicely. And now I can put it in my kitchen cabinet. You know, this broom is going to fit there. So there's an additional benefit on top of that you are going to get. Now, what else you can do? Let's think about, so I'll try to go into more and more complex explanations. I started with the simple things. Okay, so what else can you do? Next thing you can do, go and look up Amazon Revenue Calculator. So look up your item. You know that place where you look up your FBA calculator, where you calculate estimated fees for your product. You know, you will see the product dimensions there once you put in your ASIN. And these dimensions are not what you have provided in the back end of your listing. Actually, Amazon is remeasuring and reweighting each individual item that comes to the FBA warehouse. So sometimes if the item is new and didn't have any sales yet, if you would look at this, it would just have red squares here, like empty. It's not measured yet. So when they're charging you the storage fees, they base all the calculations on these numbers. They don't look at what you have told them it is. It's what they managed to calculate. And one time I noticed, you know, they're doing these calculations. Now you see a screenshot of Shopkeeper, which is an app that I'm a founder of. So there are two variations of the same item, right? And now look at the volume and the dimensions. It's the same item, you know, but because a different person measured it, and because the poly bag might have stick out more or whatever, the measurements are different. And actually, it's very, very different cubic feet. From 0.1 cubic feet, the other one became 0.2. So that variation was becoming so expensive for me for both the FBA fees and the storage fees. So what can you do about that? Well, you can ask for a QBScan. When you see this thing happening on your items, you can request a QBScan. So you have to create a support case and mention this specific word, QBScan, and that is just simply the name of that machine that every warehouse has to measure your items. So that means please do the QBScan, so remeasure my items with the digital scanner so that is properly measured. And then all of your items will be updated to the new one. So see, I had a big difference. And then once they have remeasured and put it back, so look how it compared. I had 2,000 units in stock of this item. So I was paying monthly fees of $246 for this one and $448 for that one, you know? And since the product launched, I did my calculations, how much I have overpaid. I overpaid $3,629 just, you know, for a new product that I launched. So if you look at all of your variations right now and compare them and just check your own backend measurements with what Amazon has. You can get a lot of good savings on your storage fees and your FBA fees. Just one thing to note before I move on is that they don't automatically issue you a reimbursement. You have to request it. So once the support case is done, once they remeasure, then you have to open a new case or ask in the same one to actually reimburse you for all the overpaid fees. Let's look at the situation of storage fees overall, how we compare market by market. You know, it's very interesting that Japan, and I sell in most of them except India. In Japan, look at the storage fees. During regular normal times, it's $1.99. These are all converted per cubic foot. The measurements are different in each country, but I converted them for you to easier compare. It's $1.99 US per cubic foot. And in October, December is $2.30. That is like super, super expensive comparing to, let's say, France, you know, where it's only 84 cents for monthly fee. But look what happens in the United States. And that's the only country that has this jump. From 69 cents per cubic foot, it jumps to $2.40 in those 3 Q4 months. And that's a crazy jump. You know, the fees actually increase so much. And I'll show you examples. So right now, since a bit ago, a year ago, in the United States, they switched that system. If many older sellers will remember that you used to have long-term storage fees charged every 6 months. Now they started charging every month, but only for those units that are older than 365 days. So that change actually affected us. It seems like we had better conditions because every 6 months you will not get charged anymore. Like they are gonna look only at items which are older than 12 months. But actually, before, when I made the calculation, before I was paying only $737 per month if my item is overstocked for over than 1 year. But now with the new charges, because of that change that is gonna be charged monthly instead of every 6 months, it actually, they secretly doubled up your fees, you know? So I would be now paying $1,500 instead of $700. So the fees are doubled up. It's not just a simple change from 6 months to every month. It's actually the fees increased like crazy. And to compensate for that, they just give us like free removal service or something like that. But that's not everything. Think about the monthly storage that you're paying on top of that, right? So in the regular months of the year, you pay $106, but in Q4, you will pay $264. You know, so look how much of my profit is gonna eat, you know, 1,500 plus 260 every month charge, you know, that's on these 1,000 units. I don't think I can make that much profit, you know, in just a few months, it's gonna disappear. So it's really important to look at the storage fees and try to optimize it well. Now, how can you optimize it? Well, there is this thing called Inventory Performance Index, and that is how Amazon bases many of their calculations and your performance as a seller, it really depends on this a lot in terms of storage. Now, if your index is less than 350, then your storage space is limited. And storage space being limited is very bad for you. Normally, if you're over 350, your storage space is unlimited, just like this. So it looks like this on Seller Central. You basically, if you have 888, everything is good, all the things are good, you are gonna have unlimited storage. And you can have as many items as you want in your Q4. But the thing is that if you have low performance index, which is, let's say in this seller's case, 287, right away he's being restricted on how much storage he can have. And the worst part is that, you know, because on Christmas he may want to stock up and bring a lot of units in. Whenever he's gonna be over this limit of 400 cubic feet, then they will charge him additional $10 per cubic feet, like overage fee. So there is this other fee that is on top of those calculations. So not only 1,500 plus 264 is actually plus 470, you know, for this overage fee, just because I sent all of those 1,000 units in. So now look at, my profit would be $6,000 from those 1,000 units. Like I make $6 profit per unit usually on the shirt. And look, so every month I will lose 2,251 just on storage fees. What about my PPC spend? What about refund rates? What about like all the other things, you know, there's nothing left. So you just have to really, really do the math and work on it. Now, one tip, probably one of the nicest tips that I will give you today is this. So now look, how they calculate the score. They are looking at every quarter, they make a measurement twice. So let's say they're looking at a certain quarter, they will look in the middle somewhere for 1 week and take a score, and at the end of the quarter, they will take 1 week score as well. So here are just the schedule. So we are interested in this Q4 one, right? October 1st to December 1st, there's week 39. So just the last week of September is going to be the scanning. And that's when they will determine how much cubic feet storage you're going to have for Christmas. So that's when your performance index should be the best at that point. So now look at probably what you are doing already, because we are in progress, right? Q4 is approaching. So what most of us do in June, we probably already placed an order. You know, it's gonna take 2 months to manufacture. So all of our Christmas orders are probably in, and right now you are manufacturing them, and that takes about 2 months. So while you're manufacturing, they're doing this, they're taking this 1 week and they're doing the snapshot of the score check. They're checking what is your performance score. But look what happens next. When you are shipping it, the second score check happens at the end of September. And here's my big recommendation. Don't ship your items in for Christmas before October 1st. Ship it right after October 1st. Now, why, you will say? Why is that? Well, because if they take a snapshot just before October 1st and you have just brought in a lot of units to compensate for, you know, Christmas sales, it will completely drop your FBA sell-through. Because that is a formula that you use. It's sort of like as soon as you stock up, that formula drops very badly, and then it recovers once you're selling well and so on. But you don't want to be stuck for 3 months for the whole Q4, you know, with that bad formula calculation. So that's why I am saying you should bring your items after October 1st. You know, as soon as October comes, bring it in, because already the rush is gonna start rising. From my experience from October, that's when it starts slowly rising up. Now, let's look at that formula of FBA sell-through, like what that is, what do they even do? It just means that you're holding too much inventory compared to your sales. And that is true if you bring a lot for Christmas, right? So let's look at this one now. Here's a Shopkeeper screenshot. So Shopkeeper, what it does, it actually does a forecast for you. It estimates how many units you will sell, but it's not just taking an average every month. The orange months are the standard months, but it's also trying to determine which months are going to be high volume months for you as a seller for that particular product. So the green months, it has determined from the previous history of your sales that November, December, and January are gonna be the high volume months. And look, so normally on average you sell, it's predicting that you will sell 84 because that's the stats. And in November, based on the previous year's data, it's saying that you will sell 382, plus it adds like 20% cushion for growth, and you can play with those numbers a little bit yourself. and December 2,497 units. How many more units comparing to your average, right? So now imagine if the snapshot is taken before, or like before we came for the last Q4 and determined your FBA sell-through. So normally they would look at it. So let's say we're looking in the beginning of July. So that first snapshot came in. We're taking 2 snapshots in Q4, like I said. So in the 3 months span. So they will take the first snapshot and it will be like this: 252 units sold, so that's an average of the 90 days, 252 units. And they also take a snapshot on average available units, last 30 days, last 60 days, and last 90 days. You don't need to think about the formula too much. You just need to know that your FBA sell-through is good if you don't have too much inventory. And now suddenly, if second snapshot is at the end of September here somewhere, and you are now brought in 3,000 units, because look, exactly in this case, this product is going to sell about 3,000 units in Christmas, right? That's how much I need. So I brought in 3,000. So now they're taking an average over the last 30 days is 3,000, last 60 days 210, and again 210. To average that, it becomes 140, and basically your sell-through drops completely to the red level of 0.2, and that ruins your formula, and that will definitely imply the restrictions on your storage space. And now these 3,000 units may have overage fees, so you totally want to avoid it, and like I said, bring it in after October 1st. Okay. Let's move on. So there are other things that inventory performance index is based on. So there are basically 4 things that are displayed on your Seller Central. 2 of them are sort of negligible. Well, one of them, FBA in stock rate, is green here, but could be red on your account. But it's more to help you to keep items in stock. It's just more like an indicator that you should replenish your items. But manipulating that, or like trying to dismiss the recommendations to try making that rate better, is not going to affect your inventory performance index. What really affects it is those 3 on top. And the stranded inventory is green, and it's very easy to take care of. It's usually just 1 unit lost somewhere, and you just have to go fix, resolve it, and it's done. So we are down to 2 most important things that everything is based on. Your storage fees is based on excess inventory percentage and FBA sell-through, right? So looks like you need to sell more and to clear the extra old inventory that you have, right? So that's what you need to do to actually be good and have good performance. So excess inventory, let's talk about that one. So if you have too many units in your inventory, what you can do? Well, there are many things you can do. You can remove it. You can reorganize it, like ship it out and ship it back in as bundles, as different items, all kinds of things, right? But the main thing that, again, it goes back to is trying to sell more. And selling more, is just simply trying to sell as much as you can in that last quarter before the Q4 comes, right? So you're trying to improve your sell-through. And that is especially important, those big sales in the last week of September, especially when they take that snapshot. So what can you do in that last week to just have a bump, right? What you have not done before, like, of course, you ran PPC already. And of course, you have tried some other promo methods. Like, what else can you do to boost it so quickly, right? What else is available? Well, I'll give you a few things that I like personally to use. It's pricing strategies. So I really like to use pricing strategies. I'll give you just a few of them, my probably more interesting ones that can give you quick results. One of them is to utilize free shipping. So you know how there are thresholds in each marketplace? They have thresholds. You have to buy $25 in order to get free shipping for those non-Prime members. Now, so my recommendation is to make your prices to be just below the if you have any prices just below the threshold, my recommendation is to raise them to be above. Now, why? Look at the situation. I had this item selling for $20.99, and with shipping costs, the customer was paying $26.47, non-Prime member. And I was thinking, wait a minute. So now if I increase it to $25.99, just above the threshold, then suddenly customer pays less, little bit less, but less, and I'm making $5 extra in profit, you know? And actually there are more benefits. You are now suddenly appearing, many people use this popular feature on Amazon. On the sidebar, there is this checkbox called free shipping checkbox, right? Many people click that, and if you don't have free shipping, then you're not gonna be in those search results. So you get a little bit of a boost just by doing that, raising your price to be a little bit above. Well, in my case, it was quite significant change from $20.99 to $25.99. So be aware that you have to look at your competitors as well and look at your market. If you are more a unique item and you can afford to jump that high, do that. But most of the time, this rule applies to those that are like 24-ish or 23-ish kind of prices. And that's what I would say you would lift up in any marketplace that you work in, like in France, make it over 29 euros. Let's talk about a few more pricing strategies. So there's this 99.99 ending, you know, and many people are curious, what is this 99.99? Why are they even doing this, right? Every store in the world. Well, it's very simple. Look at the first one. You're reading this one as 29 something and this one as 30 something. So very obviously this has more of an appeal, you know, 20 something is more affordable than 30 something. So now, in fact, what happens to us by having the 99, 99, 99 everywhere, that we became conditioned to it, to believe that it is some kind of a good deal. You know, if it's 99 at the end, it's a better bargain than that 30. So now how can you use it in your existing products to change your prices? Well, actually, I tested two, and I've done a lot of research, and this is where I originally came from. I tested 34 and 39 on a product that I had no competitors in the same range. They were all doing the cheaper items and I was the luxury offering. And 39 was selling better than the 34. And I took these exact numbers from a study that was done online, and they also tested their own product, 34, 39, and it's like magic, you know. Why 39 is selling better? Because there is a 9 in it, you know. And it's very interesting. You know, and you will say, Paulina, but wait, I can't jump from 34 to 39. The competitors have 35.99, you know, what can I do? Well, in that case, jump just a little bit using the charm numbers. Those are, you know, like Walmart does 95, 90, 95 at the end. And internet marketers are using 97, 97, all the sevens in the end, right? So use either 5, 7, or 9 in ending of your prices, instead of 2, 4, 6, or 8. So I would never use the even numbers. I would use those called charm numbers because they're used so much so that's why we are even looking at 39 and thinking it's a better deal than 34, because we're so psychologically conditioned. It happens in a millisecond. You just look at it and sort of, oh, okay, 39, awesome. And 34 is like, there is a little bit of an extra millisecond of this pullback. I don't know how to even explain it, but it's like a sense that we all have. We look at them both, oh, this one, 9 seems like better, you know? So that's one. Another tip that I'll give you about pricing strategies, there is this limit, $40, and in Europe it's 40 euros. So whatever 40 is a number that they say a husband has to go and check with his wife whether it's okay to spend that. You know, so it's some sort of personal limit that you feel no guilt spending that under $40. So if your price is like 41, I suggest reducing it to 39 just to benefit on that first step. And if your prices are higher, there are following steps later, like at $100, there is another struggle there, and it goes so on. So, but most of us are selling similar priced items like in that range. So just if you have anything a little bit above 40, keep that in mind. And last suggestion for the pricing, use the coupons. Because look, recently they just changed the color from coupons to be green instead of orange. And now how it stands out, the orange used to blend in with all the oranges on their website, but now the green just stands out so much and most people are not using them. So I would highly recommend using the coupons. They're now available in United States, Canada, UK, Germany, France, and Japan. And in Europe, it just recently showed up, maybe 6 months ago. And most sellers are not using it. So you will really see a nice increase in your sessions, increase on your click-through rates because of that. There are different strategies you could work with the coupons, but basically one simple advice is go with the one which feels bigger. You know, here is equal discounts, 40% and $10 is the same discount, but the 40 feels bigger, you know, like, oh, wow, 40, that's awesome, you know, instead of the $10. Look, here's an exercise for you. Which one is a better discount? 22% Oh, $100. Think about it. Think about it. Of course, $100 is the better one. It's like you go with the feeling a little bit. There is no real rule. You know, many different strategies exist online, but I just go with the feeling just like that. You know, you look at it and so on. And also try to avoid complexity in your coupons. Don't make super complicated math, you know, $21.79, 15% off. Ah, okay. 10 off there, 5% more is extra dollar. Oh, my brain hurts, you know, to calculate that number. So make it easy for me. So the easier I can comprehend your price and I can click faster into your listing. There's this other thing of using dollar amounts that are multiples of the price. Look at the two, 21.21, but actually coupon amount, $3 converts better than the 4, because we are taught multiplication tables since we were kids, you know, that the $3 in 21 is 1/7. And it's so easy to comprehend that you're getting $18, you know, and the first one you have to calculate, okay, 1 to the side, 3 there, 17. See the extra step that it takes to calculate that one. So use the multiples. All right, so those are my quick pricing strategies that will definitely help you get that boost in the last week of September. Now you'll say, okay, what if it doesn't sell anyway? What can I do? What else can I do? Well, you could try to repurpose your item. So for example, I had this handbag that I was selling, and I was just calling it, you know, bead, clutch purse, handheld wedding evening bag. I had no idea, you know. Actually, after I switched the category to accessories, to be costume accessory for the 1920s, very often they have those parties 1920s, you know, and it was selling mostly in the October for me, but it really helped the product to move from nothing to something, you know. And there are other things that you can do. I will not go in detail, but you could go, you know, from snorkeling packages to goggles, and you could switch from portable speakers to be waterproof outdoor speakers, you know. So there are many things that you can work with. All you have to do is, first, you will edit your category, but also you have to write a support ticket, because this category is only a suggestion, is not the actual change of your category. So you'll have to find this, there's a URL for UK, but there is a URL as well for Amazon.com. You can look up the node ID into their catalog. And that ID you have to identify to the support staff to change. So you will tell them, I want to change the category to this node ID, and only then the actual change going to happen. Like this changing in the product listing is not going to do it. You will say, okay, what if it still doesn't sell? What else can I do? Well, you could add another image to your product listing, just something like on your best sellers, you could upsell to another item if it goes nicely together. Something like this, color sold separately. Just an image there, you know. So it's your best seller, has a lot of traffic, and then the color sold separately. So it's try to use your best sellers. If it matches, you know, those slower sellers, you could put them on in a picture there. You'll say, still not selling. What can I do? Well, then I guess you have to consider inventory removal. Remove the inventory. Sometimes Amazon does free inventory removal. This year it haven't announced it yet. Last year it did it because it changed the storage fee structure. If it comes, use it. And the way to calculate is this. So look, first you look at this FBA inventory page. And in my case, I'm looking at the first product, and I have very old stock of over 271 days, 700 units is there, right? So next step, I will look at Shopkeeper and open the my last 3 years of sales. So there's this graph that shows you, and I will look up exactly what it estimates. And it says that I will sell 90, 110, and 300 in the Q4. So that means that I have 128 units overstock at the moment. Okay, so what can I do with these 128 units? Definitely, I don't want to keep them in stock. And if you do your math, you might have many more units than I did. And at that point, it's definitely worth removing it. You will say, Paulina, but removal costs 50 cents per item, and that is expensive. What can I do? Well, removal is actually beneficial when you, well, if you live in the United States and you're lucky enough to live there and you have your own big garage where you can pull it in, do it, you know. But many of us don't have that, you know, opportunity. We live outside of the United States, and for us, it's either a third-party fulfillment warehouse or nothing, right? So now, why should you even use external warehouse? What's the benefit? Well, first of all, the monthly fees are just stable there. If you pay $75 per pallet, it's just gonna stay $75, and there will be no Q4 increased fees. That is very nice. And there is no long-term storage fees as a thing. Plus, they have all kinds of inspections, prep, and repackaging available in those third-party fulfillment centers, which is very necessary, because when you pull the units from inventory, Amazon is going to ship them in these huge boxes with like one item inside. So there will be half empty boxes that will arrive, and if you pay for storage as is, it will be huge cubic space. So you want to order their service to condense your items. In general, the math for 1,000 units works out like this: removal, monthly storage, and ship back to Amazon later after Q4 passes, it's $825. So I'll keep it for 3 months, it's gonna be $75 there. So I pulled my 1,000 units. So instead of, remember I showed you all of these extra fees I would have paid? So instead of 6,600, which is all of my profit in the Q4, basically, I would just pay $825 by pulling to an external warehouse and bringing it back right after Christmas. After you bring it back, everything is reset. It's like it's new inventory again. So the counter again resets. So long-term storage fee is not gonna come so soon. So it's nice to reset your cost like that. So do your own math on your units, give to your VA to do on all of your products, and you see for which ones it makes sense. You'll say, Paulina, it's a mess. I don't know where to ship it. Look, there is like so many fulfillment centers all over the place. How I'm gonna pick the one, and how do I know which one to even go with? Well, personally, how I did my research, I looked at this inventory report on Amazon. I pulled it, and it basically shows you all of the fulfillment centers that they have received my inventory in. Usually they assign the fulfillment center randomly, and we never know where we have to ship our products, right? But if you look at your past data, and if you have enough data on that product, like my products are apparel products, and when I did the math, I saw that mostly it's sending 42 times I had to ship to SDF 8, wherever that is, 32 to this, and so on. And later I went to this Avalara website, and I looked up address for each place, and I checked the top 5 or 6 where I was, receiving mostly. And look at this in the map. It looks like the best location is around Indiana somewhere. And that's how I personally decided where I want the fulfillment center to be. But I do have also another fulfillment center that I use in California. So everywhere around the place is nice. You could choose even not such a good location. You don't need to do that research. Just the fact that you'll be using a warehouse is already going to help you a lot in terms of your costs. Now, there is this one website called Flexe. It's very nicely helping you to search and find the fulfillment warehouse. So basically a storage warehouse, rather. It's not Amazon warehouse, but you will have to inquire them individually. You just go find space, overflow. So your items would be called overflow. And I would put in Indianapolis there. And I just searched for what it showed me. And it showed me all of these centers and their prices per pallet, and it showed me what is the lowest cost there. And this tool is free, So you can use that, or you can simply use a Google Maps. It's up to you. One recommendation, if you really don't want to go through that, you could either look on Facebook groups for other people, what they're using. But I could recommend McKinsey Services. They're a very nice prep center. They know everything what has to do with Amazon. They're used to those big boxes, half empty, repackaging, consolidating, bundling your items, all kinds of things. So I'm not really affiliated with them, but I recommend their service. They are very good. Another option you have is to move inventory to another Amazon region. And you know what I mean by Amazon region is simply another country of Amazon. Now, so one quick way to do it is to enable global store tag on your items. And that's simply a sidebar option that buyers have, but not so many of them are using it. But there is a tag like that you could enable your items to be available in global stores. So even if you stock them in United States, they could show up in UK. And in that 1 week, it could help you, So just check on your settings. If you have that enabled, the export option has to be marked enabled. And in European marketplace, it will look like this. So you want to check these settings like I have on the screen, 26 countries, exportable. And check your exportable inventory report. to see whether you are going to have your item listed. These are going to be the items that are qualifying for your export to be available in global store. So you see in the sidebar, there's this option. They would have to check it. So that's why not many people check it. But if they're really researching well, some of them do. I don't know the percentage, but it's still worth enabling just to have a little bit of extra. So there is a lot of math here. I will add the slides in the comments. You don't have to think about all of this math. It's just that look at the total cost of moving. If you would think about it like this, okay, so you have it all in United Kingdom right now and it's overstock, right? And you want to ship it to United States to just simply restart the counter on the long-term storage and just test your product somewhere else. You know, why it's even sitting there? Well, because it didn't sell so well, right? That's probably the reason. So you very often would just want to do something different with it, not just pull it and bring it back, but also to think about other uses, which one of them is move it to a different marketplace, to a bigger marketplace, let's say from UK to United States, or it could be to a smaller one as well. So look, potential profit if you sell the MOM successfully in the United States, you will potentially even make profit after the cost of moving. And that's calculation for my units that I showed you before. All right, let's go to the swapping or selling. That's an option also. That's how you can clear your excess inventory. Now you will say, what? Wait a minute. Yes, you will say, I've seen on Facebook, there are people who are asking, oh, I'm looking to liquidate, you know, I overstocked and I don't know what to do with it. And you probably thought before, if you saw any swapping opportunity, you would think, what? Nobody is going to take in Facebook groups. They're all like private label sellers. Look, you are on the left with your 500 units and there's this other guy, you know, who has 300 units. Do you think he would swap with you? You know, actually probably not, because he's also a beginner, failed on something, he will be scared to take. So swapping doesn't really work, but there is one type of buyer that you can find on Facebook groups that will work. And you will say, what? Why would they want my failed product if I overstocked and it's not selling, and why would they want it? Well, very often potential buyer is a retail arbitrager or a wholesaler who is looking for lots, and that's very nice for him to take it off your hands, and that means it's not available to other competitors of his. And very often that bigger seller has more stars in the feedback. He has better overall seller performance, and that's why he is getting more sales. Very often Amazon algorithm actually gives you more traffic if you are a bigger seller overall. So even though you had no success with your 500 units, he may have much more traffic and more success taking those from you. So it's potentially very good idea to go to retail arbitrage websites, Facebook groups, and suggest your lot to them. You can use urgency as well. So, you know, there's only 2 left in stock. So you can enable it by holding. So you will create a removal order and you will hold this inventory right here. Hold this inventory for up to 2 weeks and place the order. So removal order will be placed, but it's not going to go anywhere because it's going to be held for 2 weeks. So you'll have to come back. It's not going to, after 2 weeks, nothing is going to happen either. So you can come back at any time when you already sold those. And then again, so leave like 9-10 units in. If it's a slower selling product, that really helps to boost the sale, to have that urgency in it. So that's another little thing that you can do. And in the end, what I did to mine is I just donated. And donation actually has tax benefits, but in Canada, not so much, but in US, I think there are donation tax benefits, so you could try that. And my story was very simple, that I needed a pencil sharpener. That's the one you see with the arrows, the nice little cute puppy. And I had this art supplies bag, like there were pencils, there was notepad, there were other things for kids to do art supplies, drawing things. And they had this, you know, pencil sharpener that I ordered. And it came, samples came, and it was half of my head, one pencil sharpener. So obviously in my little set of art supplies, I couldn't use such a huge piece. So I told my sourcing agent, you know, keep the rest that I have purchased. Don't give to freight forwarder yet. Just send to the local school, you know. So just donate to the local school. Other items that I had also had some issues. Donate to them, and it's good karma if you really cannot get it. And that will clear up your inventory. You will have less excess, and basically your formula will increase. So these are, to summarize, to look back again at that screen, you have two things to work on, right? So excess inventory and sell-through. So either remove it from there and bring it back, or try everything you have to sell, especially in the last week of September. So that summarizes all of my teachings here. Now I'll give you a little bit of benchmarks. You're probably curious to see how other sellers are managing their storage fees. And in ShopKeeper, us being a very popular app, we have a lot of data of other sellers' storage fees, how much they're spending on it. So this is the data from last year's Q4. In 2018, on average, like I have removed the crazy cases which like paid too much. Like that's the average. On average, monthly storage fees take up 10%, almost 10% of your profit. So that's, if you look at your profit as a whole, like that's your profit margin, most sellers were keeping only 90% of their profit. It went all mostly to the monthly storage fees, which is interesting, right? Long-term storage fees, it wasn't such a big number there. It was mostly those monthly storage fees that double up in United States, and this is United States data. In United States, they double up, and that's the 10%, right? You're gonna say, okay, that's an average. Averages are not interesting, Paulina. Tell me more exactly where I stand. Well, actually, if you look at 100 seller sample size, so 50 sellers out of 100 actually had 1.67 only storage fees in their profit. And the worst ones, which didn't optimize their storage very well, was 28%. So what does that mean? That means that if you don't optimize your storage well, you will give about 30% of your profit to the storage fees, you know? And if over Q4, when you make your best sales and you make $100,000 in profit, you know, 30,000 will go to storage fees. You know, this is crazy number. Like, you have to really strategize and think about it carefully, you know, sit down and think about it. And tools like my software can help you with that. You know, you can analyze and see the seasonality, the forecast. And actually the forecast is not the main thing what ShopKeeper does. We do profit calculations. We show exactly there are profit and loss reports. You can see how much storage fees you're paying month by month by month, all many kinds of things. You can explore it yourself. So here comes my surprise for all of you. And the surprise is that I agreed with John that I will give you all is a special, and that is a 180 days free trial. Well, normally all the software, you know, when they do specials, they go from regular 14-day trial to like 2 months, you know, free trial. But I decided that 6 months is the best thing I could give you as your Q4 present, because you need all you can to see your numbers well and optimize and see how it worked last year and what you can do this year, you know. And especially for new beginner sellers, when you have very little budget to pay for the apps, this is very nice boost for you for the 6 months. So to claim your 6 months, all you have to do is simply go to this link, which is shopkeeper.com/ProSeller. Okay, so that is John's show name, ProSeller. And just follow that link. And when you follow it, instead of the regular button, which normally would say start 14-day trial, it will tell you start 180-day free trial. So that's my little present for you, and that ends my presentation. If you want to contact me and ask me more questions about pricing strategies or profit optimizations, feel free to reach out at paulina@shopkeeper.com. All right.
Well, that was awesome. I don't know if you saw it, I put in the chat. You can actually, if you could put those in the chat too, because some people will follow the chat as well when they see it on those links. But I also put in there, for those that you don't know, and Paulina, I know you don't know, I also am partners in auction sites. So that's another place for them to move their inventory. If they're trying to move large volume inventory and want to get it to, like you said, other sellers that have better metrics, or maybe a mom and pop store that needs it, like a brick and mortar type store that would buy, they can go to that link that I posted in there, www.jdauctions.net, and they'll be able to list their items through us. They send us the items, and we'll list them on the auction site for them.
Great.
All right, guys, you have any questions for Paulina? I know there was a lot she went through in a very, very short amount of time. She really packed it with a lot of information. There's a lot of good information. I love the way that Paulina showed us the way you could package a package by bagging it and by oversized bagging it. It may not always be the best time to oversize it because of the fees and how they change. So she gave you some good examples like that. She also gave examples of how to take the product and break it down and make it smaller so that you don't get charged all those fees by Amazon. So there's some great tips and information in there. A lot of those things that you talked about, we do in our fulfillment center anyway, those type of things, because we know the bottom line is you want to keep it from oversized and you want to ship it as small as possible and as neat as possible. And you're right, you're absolutely right. You're not putting it on a Walmart shelf, you're not putting it on a Target shelf. It's Amazon, and people don't expect to buy something from Amazon that just came off of a shelf that is, the presentation looks like a Christmas gift.
That's right.
It's basically, you know, you're putting it, most of the things on there come in brown boxes, and, you know, as long as they're in good shape and they're not damaged and brand new, customers not really going to care about that. So I love the way that you broke that down for them too. And it's interesting how you talked about Amazon, because having the fulfillment center that we have here, I can tell you straight up that Amazon, when they ship stuff here, returns from Amazon come to us, or even if people buy and resell on Amazon, buy from Amazon and resell it, they don't pack the stuff very well. You're lucky if there's bubble in there sometimes and it's this oversized box, and the chances of your items getting to us that are not damaged are very, very slim. Most of the time there are damages in there because of how they pack it, but they just don't take the care of sending returns and product you buy from them to you like a fulfillment center would do or should do. Remember, a fulfillment center is your partner and they're your advocate, and they shouldn't be just looking to process your items for you. They should be looking like what you just did, giving suggestions on how to bundle an item, how to enhance that and bring more value to it, because the bottom line is, yes, with all these fees, you still want to make sure that you've got enough margin in there so that you make money. And if you buy things like what you were talking about, I think most of your presentation was private label. Am I correct?
That's right. Private label.
So if you're buying private label, you've got the margins in there. I would be curious of how this would work for a lot of my audience, and there's, you know, quite a few that do retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, and how they would actually be able to benefit from something like this, because they don't have those margins.
That's right. It's very thin, about 10%, right, on resellers, because private labelers are happy with about 40% margin. And when you think about the retail arbitrage, it's probably 10% on average, you know, when you are wholesaling or retail arbitraging. Yeah, so it's quite, you know, I would think that still you could, because, you know, when you do retail arbitrage, when you're picking up from stores, that's a different case, right? You are stocking up for Christmas and you like, it's a different case. You buy 20 units there, 20 here. But when you do arbitrage from other websites, you know, then you could buy more units at once. And then you usually ship them somewhere you don't even see those items. So then you start thinking about storage fees as well, just like private labeler would, right? And just like you said, the margins are much thinner. So it's so much more important to really look at each of the things. And, you know, after you remove the PPC and refund rate, and after you remove like anything that may happen with the items, shipping costs and everything, that's very, very thin margins that you are working with. So I think optimizing and using some of my strategies is really a good idea for both private labelers and retail arbitragers as well.
Yeah, they have, you know, and again, with the retail arbitrage people, you have to be more creative. You have to bundle things to make your value, give more value so that your pricing can be up, so that you can offset and absorb those fees that you're going to be. So the other great I call this a pro tip, and it was a pro tip that you gave, and I don't know if anybody caught on to that, but being a private label seller that I am also, and selling large volume on Amazon, I can tell you it's very important to know your metrics in August and at the end of September. And what you did, and I think a lot of people need to pay attention to, is that you absolutely pay, you know, place your orders, and then they come in. But if you send it in before that September 30th deadline, you may get hit with not only a lower metric score, but you also may get hit while it's on the water and it gets to you, and before it gets to Amazon, now you're getting hit with that $10 per cubic foot storage on items that you already placed 2 months ago. And I don't think that the sellers even know about that or even look at that. I don't think that even concerns them. I think they look at more or less just getting their product. I got to get it to Amazon so I can load up for fourth quarter. But if you don't pay attention to that September 30th cutoff, it could almost make you go out of business.
That's right, because overage fee per cubic foot, especially if you sell something bigger, and many of us do, and it very, very quickly adds up, those cubic foot. So be very, very careful with your numbers.
Yeah, I like the other thing too that you put, and I haven't seen that in many listings, and I check a lot of Amazon listings where you put right in your pictures that item was sold separately.
Well, I guess it's hard to match them well, right? For example, I sell dresses and purses. So very often it's, I show a dress with the purse and I say that the purse is sold separately. So that gives a boost, but sometimes pieces don't really go together. So it's not so easy to find that. But actually, many of my friends work in one niche. They are not wholesalers, like getting all kinds of products. They're usually private label and sticking in one category. And when you're in one category, very often you do have products that can be combinable like that, sold on the bestseller listing. So yeah, it's a good idea to do that.
Yeah, it's also, I think it's a good idea when you did that, when you could do that with like a variation, like a different type of thing. It's a variation, but not the same product. You could probably do that same type of thing. But I just love the fact that you did that. And of course, it has to be something that, Amazon's not going to let you take a toy and put it with something that's not even relevant in the listing and say sold separately. It has to be something that complements it. And that's what I said. The way you did that and you had it on the dog, it complemented it. But what it also did for me, if I was looking for that, it drew attention that you also have this right there. I didn't have to go searching to see what else you had in your store. You put right there, right in front of me, that here it is. If you want it, I already have it.
Yeah, Amazon has this similar items bought together, bought together often. So you already show them what's bought together. Like, let's say even if you sell two different toys, placed next to the child, this toy and this toy together, somehow they are together, like there's a little table and your item on top. And then you point and you say this stuff sold separately. So it's like, it sometimes makes sense even if they're not smaller or bigger or combined together. You could still combine them in one image, in one surroundings, and it still makes sense,
It did. The other thing that you said, and we do this all the time, is I love the way you talked about the charm pricing. That's something that we do all the time. Like we never sell on 99 or 98 or 98. We always sell on odd numbers, and not even 99 because so many people are so used to 99. We go 97, 95, 93. It's always an odd number. And what that does is it also draws attention to them. It sticks out because it's odd. It's like, that's a weird price, but it sticks out and it draws attention and you get sales that way. So I like the way you said that. And yeah, the $34 even number with the zeros is not as powerful as even if you did the $33.99, that's more powerful. Even though it's 1 penny, to them, it just looks like a more perceived better value to them.
That's right. And
I've done marketing for years, and that's a great marketing strategy that you use. Is you always want to do things like that to kind of make it. And the other thing that you said that I'm catching, I paid attention. The other thing that hopefully everybody on here paid attention and got these nuggets. The other thing that you said, and now I just lost my train of thought. Let me get it back here for a second. Wasn't the 99? It was, you said something else that I thought was
the multiples maybe.
It was about the pricing strategy, but it was something that you said. Oh, about if it's 21 to 24, to go up to that free shipping.
Right.
You get free shipping up to 25, whatever it is for merchant. But the one thing that's happening with a lot of new sellers, and I don't know if you're aware of this. First of all, Amazon's making it harder for them to get into the categories. It's so much harder to get ungated and get into those brands. But the other thing is they're not giving them the buy box. It's hard to get the buy box if your matrix are not there in the beginning. You don't have that. So Amazon's algorithm is kind of picking and choosing somewhat on the merchant fulfilled side who gets the buy box. Now I know the buy box is very, very important. You can still sell without it, but that's something that's interesting on the merchant fulfilled side. If they want the merchant fulfilled, they're not always going to get that buy box. Even if they sell FBA and qualify to sell FBA because they're a professional seller, doesn't mean you're always going to get the buy box in merchant fulfilled, especially new sellers starting out.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about it. Hmm. Very good
And
point.
I see that with a lot of our customers saying, oh, I'm new and I'm sending some stuff into you and I want to merchant fulfill it for Q4, but how do I do that if I'm not going to get the buy box? And a lot of it is just Amazon just going through their algorithm and actually picking and choosing who they want. And they do that through their matrix and things like that. But if you're a new seller, and that's the kind of question I had for, to put out there is if you're a new seller, how do you get that buy box if you're merchant fulfilling, if you're a brand new seller? Because Amazon is making it so much harder. And it doesn't matter if you're a professional seller in FBA, you're still not always getting that buy box like you should, being that you're an FBA seller, and you do both, but they're not doing it. They're picking and choosing. I saw an article on that a while ago.
Actually, many of those repricing tools, they have different strategies, but you could reproduce some of the strategies manually if you're a new seller with Merchant Fulfilled. You know how everyone's using Repricer, and if you put lower, they put 1 cent lower, then it goes completely to the bottom, right? So now,
Race the bottom.
right. So what should you do? Like, one of the repricers I recently chatted with, I forgot the name of it, but what they do is you run out of stock and you come back in stock with the top price again. So they keep resetting it. So once it goes to the bottom and that's it stays at the bottom, what they do is they then switch to be on the top again. And it's just somehow they make the velocity go that it's a complexity of algorithm which I cannot explain easily. But there are techniques that repricers are using to put you back, to have a buy box and not have a lowest price. So it's just the way the math works. I don't quite remember, but I just know that there are methods that can help you to get the buy box, even though you are, not the bottomest price, the cheapest, and usually with your shipping on top of it, it's a tough one, In general, when you're merchant fulfilling, I don't know, when people come to me, like my family members who want to become sellers, and they say, I'll start merchant fulfilling in the beginning, I don't recommend that. I'm saying, even if you're doing retail arbitrage, look for the items and put in the VA fee in there, and because first of all, shipping is a big overhead on its own, and you have to manage it, label it yourself, and it's a big overhead that you don't really need. You could just be sourcing the items instead and spend that time to source the items. So I just advocate for FBA instead of the merchant fulfilled, to solve many of these problems with the shipping cost. But in general,
Yeah, and I've been on Amazon since the book days, when Amazon was just books. And I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen it. When I first came on, I started doing retail arbitrage. We took $500 and turned it into $250,000 in 1 year. And it was so easy then. Now, I mean, for new sellers coming on, the opportunity is still there, but it's not as easy as it was back then. The point of entry is so much harder, which is good because it keeps a lot of the ones that don't do the homework and don't want to do the work out. But it also makes it difficult for the new sellers that are coming on because you got so many hoops to go through. I mean, not only is the category branded, but the products within the category are branded. So Amazon has really niched it down from brand to categories within the brand. And then, categories within the brand, and then it's also niched down to, like, if you sell sneakers, it could be, you got to get approved in the category, approved in the brand, and then approved within a sneaker of the brand.
That's right.
It could be they approve you for some of these shoes, but from the same company, these shoes you're not. So it's like picking and choosing. It's not like you're getting approved across the whole board. Where a long time ago, it was easy. You got approved for all kinds of stuff, but now it's just drilling it. And I know Amazon at some point is going to make it even harder because they eventually want to do away, and they've said it. They don't want retail arbitrage customers on there. And that's why they're requiring you to get invoices now so that you can't go to Walmart and use the store receipt or something like that. You have to get invoices from a reputable distributor or wholesaler. They don't want you to do it. They're trying to become what they originally wanted to do when Amazon started this, was to become a place where it is brand driven. You create a brand and your brand is on there, and they want to be all about brands. They don't want to be around about all this other stuff that's going on. They just want brands on their site. And it's going to get there at some point. It's just not there yet. But they're really cracking down. If you look, evidence of that this year alone is how many suspensions have you seen in this past year? I mean, suspensions are happening like crazy, where before you tried to get somebody kicked off a listing and Amazon was like, oh, well, you know,
But
now
I don't know, but for us on the other side, the private label sellers, when we are the brands, it's getting better for us, you know. So we are more protected, more everything. So it may be worth considering jumping over from the arbitrage box to the private label box, even though it might be more cash flow intensive, you know. But there is still a lot of opportunity in private label, you know. So I would say the trend didn't go away yet, you know. There is still a lot of place for all of us.
yeah, and that's what they want. They want to go to private label, but they want you to go to private label and have your own brand. Like, I don't know if you have your brand's trademark and registered. We do.
Yes.
And that's what Amazon's looking for, is to have those. And they're going to reward those companies that do that. It's just where they're going, that's all. And I also tell, and you probably talk about this as well when you talk to other sellers, is don't put all your eggs in Amazon. Because what if Amazon all of a sudden decides they don't want you anymore? You need to have other opportunities. You have to have multiple streams of incomes. You got to be looking other places besides just Amazon. Amazon's just a vehicle. It gets the most people that go there. You get the most eyes, but use those eyes to not only build your brand on Amazon, but build it off, take it and move it off of Amazon as well.
It's actually quite risky to spread your area too thin. What I mean by that is, you know, how they say, your suggestion is very wise to have multiple egg baskets. But I have personally tried so many of them, you know, little bit Walmart, eBay, Shopify site, all of these, Instagram, Pinterest, you know, pinned, all of these things I tried. And basically, they don't even bring significant income at all compared to Amazon. But eventually I discovered there's this one place that does bring me money, and it was a dropshipping site which I use Facebook ads to drive traffic from. And that suddenly became like, so I saw a few dollars getting there and I scaled that to be bigger, bigger, bigger. And that became my egg basket there. You know, it's not half and half right now, but it is some kind of egg basket, which I could, if I put all of my efforts in that after Amazon closes down somehow on me, you know, then I could expand it and still survive as a brand, as a business, and so on. And plus I have presence outside of Amazon, which is good. So I'm saying, for those who are new, it's easy to spread yourself thin and try everything one by one, waste a lot of effort and money, but just try a little bit of something. Don't spend too much money. As soon as you see something working, then scale it up and stick to that one. You know, don't waste your money trying many things all the time. Just focus on the one that is a little bit working, make it work for you. And that will become your new basket. Just like you said, it's very important to have it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I teach. And I tell the folks is that, you know, learn something, master it. Once you master it, teach somebody how to do it for you, and then go do something else. And then learn that, master it. It's always moving forward, and always, once you've got it down and you have a process in place, teach somebody how to do that process for you. Then you outsourced it and then move on. So if you have Amazon down, then you want to do Shopify, learn Shopify or get Shopify going. Once you learn that, you got all that, and get a BA, teach people how to do that. Once you teach them how to do that, go on to something else. That's the way you build it. If you go too thin, like you said, and open Walmart, Shopify, Jet, Sears, whatever, all these Esse's, all these, and you got all these things going on here, you're going to get paralysis. You're going to get analysis paralysis, because you're going to not be able to concentrate on any of them, and they're all going to be left alone, and you're just going to be like, what happened? Just learn something, master it, and then move on, like you said. And once you do that, then you're building the foundation for you. Because like I said, Amazon is great and it's not going away, but what else can you do to better yourself to help contribute to that Amazon
That's right.
income? All right, guys, any questions? I know it was a lot of information. If there's no questions, we're going to let Paulina go here real soon. And we thank you for coming on the show. Make sure you guys watch the replay. This will go out, be a limited replay. It'll be out for a little while. And you'll get to check this out. A lot of great information here. And again, thank you guys. Until my next show, I wish all you the best. Paulina, thank you so much for coming to us from Turkey. We enjoyed having you here. You have a boatload of information and knowledge, and I will be sure to post this. Like you said, if you want to take this and post it on your sites as well, And if you want to post the My Fulfillment team up there, like you said, that would be great also, because that's another alternative, guys. She's talking about private label. You need to have your eyes there. Sometimes it's not always best to have your product go directly into Amazon. You need someone to be your eyes. If something goes wrong on Amazon, Amazon's not going to do what they need to do. They're not really going to care. But if you have a fulfillment center as a middle person doing the work and being your eyes, that advocate works for you and can save you a lot of things like getting suspended and all kinds of things. So make sure you guys are aware of that when you do that. Any last words, Pauline? I always give my guests the last words before we sign off.
So I just have a question about your fulfillment center. What state is it in?
It's in Weston, Tennessee.
Okay. Good to know.
All right. Thanks again. And thanks, Paulina, for being here. And I wish you all the best.
Thanks for inviting me. Take care.
Take care.